Happy International Women's Day. I'm Alyson Chambers, the Director of Marketing for the Western Hockey League. I'm excited to host a panel today that highlights some of the amazing women from around the Western Hockey League. And let me preface by saying the 4 women on our panel today only make up a small sample size of the amazing women that make up the league, be it from our member clubs, coaching or officiating staff, or our league office. In celebration of International Women's Day, we want to talk to our panel on how they got to this place in their career, the steps they've taken along the way, and who inspired them. They will also share advice for the next generation of women looking to break through into the sports industry, or women looking to make a change into the field. With that, let's meet our panel. Kathy Hong's journey with the Lethbridge Hurricanes started in 2011 with a job shadow that grew into a volunteer game day position and eventually a full-time position that saw her looking after marketing, public relations, game day, special events, and more. Kathy left her full-time post with the Hurricanes after the completion of the 2016-17 season to start her own marketing and event planning company. Fortunately for her and the Hurricanes, Kathy and her business partner were able to retain the Hurricanes as a client. Kathy continues to play key roles in the areas of marketing, digital media, promotions, community engagement, communications, and special events with the Hurricanes. Through her journey in the sporting world, Kathy has had the privilege of volunteering with various national and international sporting events, and in 2020, Kathy was recognized by the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce as a recipient of the Top 40 Under 40. Kathy holds a Bachelor of Arts in Kinesiology and a Bachelor of Management in Marketing with a minor in Social Responsibility from the University of Lethbridge. Kathy, I know you have a few other events on the go this week, so thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Perfect. Our next panelist, Olivia Howe, joins us in a unique situation, serving on both the business and hockey side of the operations for the Moose Jaw Warriors. In 2019, Olivia became a pioneer by joining the Moose Jaw Warriors as the only female coach in the Western Hockey League. Fast forward a few seasons, and Olivia has also joined the team on the sales and marketing side of the business while maintaining her coaching role. Olivia received an NCAA Division I scholarship to Clarkson University, where she won a national championship in 2014 and graduated with a business degree in innovation and entrepreneurship in 2016. Olivia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Next up, we have Paige Bednartz, the Communication and Social Media Director for the Kelowna Rockets. Paige attended Dodge City Community College in Kansas on a golf scholarship, where she originally started out as a sports management major, but wanted to follow her heart to work in radio, graduating with Associate of Applied Science in Broadcast Mass Communications. In 2016, after accepting radio was not the path for her, and with the digital space really taking off, Paige saw a new career path. She reached out to the Kelowna Rockets and scored an internship with the club. After completing her internship, Paige worked for a marketing agency where she was able to develop new skills in the digital space. Paige continued to stay in touch with the Rockets, and in 2018, she took over the position she had interned under, tasked with shaping it into the role that it has become today. Paige, thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Lisa Hollenbach currently serves as the Senior Director of Hockey Operations for the Portland Winterhawks, overseeing the day-to-day logistics for the team. In the midst of her 11th season with the club, Hollenbach is responsible for scheduling league games, developing the department budget, and managing team immigration, among numerous other roles with the Winterhawks. Lisa plays a pivotal part in the organization of team operations and events while coordinating with facility management. Prior to arriving in Portland, Hollenbach worked 4 seasons in the ECHL and finished as the league's manager of hockey administration. She graduated with a sports management degree from Etiquette College in Beverly, Mass. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Glad to join everyone.
All right, ladies, let's get right into the questions here. So describe the path that you took to get to this point in your career. So Kathy, I'm going to start with you. I know you have a bit of a unique situation here where you actually were full-time with the club and you've moved now to a contract position, doing contract marketing, and have started your own company along the way. So tell us a little bit how you came to this point in your career.
So I guess back in 2016, I had a friend approach me saying that she really wanted to work together and that we could do some really good things in our community by going out on our own, exploring just different areas and different interests that we have. But for me, I've always been very, very involved and I've always loved live entertainment. So I took the leap with her. We started our business in 2017. Continued working with the Lethbridge Hurricanes and really learned a lot along the way. It's been a really interesting experience.
So Kathy, how did you start your initial role with the Hurricanes?
I reached out midway through my first year at university to Jim Stewart at the time. He was the team's education advisor, but he was a counselor at my high school. And I just wanted to do a job shadow because I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do with my career. I was enrolled at the university at that time in HR. Realizing that wasn't the way that I wanted to continue on, I've always, like I mentioned, I had always been drawn to sports and live entertainment. So I wanted to see what was happening behind the scenes. So everything started with a job shadow following, her name was Sally. She is no longer with the team, but she was working doing a lot of the game day and client services stuff back then. So I followed her around, watched how she was basically executing all of their game day elements, and really enjoyed how she was able to interact with everyone, the fans, the different members in the facility, and all of the teams and the players. So I asked if I could come back and volunteer for that season, and I did. And I came back the following year, and the role has just really grown. I was offered a position midway through the next season, and just kind of slowly took on a little bit more responsibilities along the way.
No, that's great. And now, did you have the confidence in starting your own business knowing that the Hurricanes were going to come on as a client for you? Like, how, you had a full-time role and you left kind of for the uncertain. How did that come to be that you still had them as a client, or did you know that when you started your own company?
I did not know that. I hoped big time that they would support me in me choosing to leave. And especially since I had graduated in 2016. So technically I was only with the club on a full-time basis that one season. My initial reaction when I was asked to go out on my own was actually, no, I don't want to do this. I'm in a really good spot. I have a stable career. It's definitely where I want to be. I'm really happy. But then I thought about it a little more and was able to kind of prioritize and just get a better understanding of what I want to do in my career, and realize that going out on my own would give me that flexibility to be able to work with just a few more other people. So when I brought it up with the Hurricanes, I brought it up with Terry Hausman, and he was really supportive. And I think that is kind of where I got the big confidence boost that I could do this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kathy. Olivia, we'll go to you. Obviously, you must have a huge sense of pride working for the team that you grew up watching. Describe in your role, I mean, obviously very unique that you're on the hockey and marketing side of things. How has each role complemented each other? So, for example, you were a player and you're on the hockey side. Does that translate to helping you in your current role on the marketing side and vice versa?
I think it does. I think that we get to experience, when you experience playing, and you can go out and have those conversations with your corporate sponsors and people that you're selling the team to, right? You have a little more insight, and they kind of get intrigued by that. And you can take those conversations a little bit further, being able to kind of touch on topics that maybe aren't available to the general public. And I've thought this year it's been really good. And able to have those conversations, and those people are a little more intrigued, and you just have kind of a little bit extra to offer them. And basically, I think from the hockey side as well, Moose Jaw is a small community. So when I work on the hockey side and I do kind of my own camps and stuff like that as well, you're in touch with those people's children as well. So you're broadening your horizons, and you're able to be in contact at many different levels.
For sure. And now, Olivia, talk to us a little bit about, the path that you took to get here. I don't know if coaching was your inspiration when you were a player, if that kind of fell on your lap. So talk to us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, for sure. It never was my end goal, I have to be completely honest. But growing up playing hockey, that's where I invested most of my time. And I became a student of the game. And I was always looking into the analytics of everything, and I liked the X's and O's side of it. So I always knew that it was something that I could do once my playing career was over. And unfortunately, as women, we don't have as many opportunities once we graduate university, and we don't have a professional league to play in and to make a career out of it, right? So graduating university in 2016, I did have hopes of playing what was the CWHL at the time, which has now folded. But I did have hopes of playing there, and I was offered a coaching job out in Notre Dame, actually, where I went to high school. So I ended up taking the job over playing and trying to push my career further on the hockey side of things, right? So I took the coaching job, and that year, 2016-2017 season, really kind of got me interested on that side of things and made me push harder to learn more and dig in further on the coaching side.
That's great. Thank you. Paige, you share a story with me on how you got into golf. I would love you to share that story if you don't mind, but it really got me thinking about our players out in the community and how they act as role models. Talk to us about how you got your start and then how you went on to find yourself in your current spot in your career.
Yeah, so when I was 9, I obviously grew up in Edmonton, so I was a huge Oilers fan. I wasn't alive when Wayne Gretzky was an Oiler, but you just know who Wayne is. And so Wayne held a charity golf tournament in Edmonton when I was 9. And my mom took me so I could see Wayne, and I went. And so we're standing around the 18th green. He's got all these celebrities playing in this tournament. And this guy waves at me, to come up under the rope. So security, okay, go. So I go under the rope, and he says, oh, hey, I want you to putt for me. Well, I'd never golfed before in my life and never even thought of golfing. And I was left-handed, he was right-handed. It made for a really awkward but kind of fun experience. And so, I get off the green and I'm like, oh, wow, this is awesome, right? And somebody's like, oh, that's Bernie Nichols. Well, I'm 9, I have no idea who Bernie Nichols is, but him calling me up was like an entire game changer. I went to a golf camp after that, and the instructor was like, you're a natural, you have to stick with it. And I played a little bit of hockey when I was younger, but I was a much better golfer, so that's the route that I stuck with. And so then I just kept golfing, and it got better as I got older, and went to a golf academy in Edmonton. And then when I was 13, I went to the World Remax Long Drive Championships in the US, and that's where I met some college coaches who were like, you can get your education paid for. It's a really great route. And so that was kind of the goal from like 13 onwards, was I'm going to go to the States. And I did. I got a golf scholarship to Kansas and went the JUCO route and played a year at Dodge City Community College and got a radio broadcasting degree out of it. And that probably wasn't the right route to go looking back on it, but that's okay. And then, so I graduated. I couldn't get a job in radio. I was like 3.5 years out of school and I didn't know what to do. Social media was really starting to take off at that point, and I knew that the Rockets did internships. I have family out here in Kelowna, and so I reached out to the Hamiltons and asked, hey, I'm 24, I'm not in school, I just want to come out and get some experience. And they said absolutely. So I came out for a month in 2017 of January, and got my foot in the door and met the Hamilton family and got to experience the Rockets. And then right after that, I got a job with a marketing agency in Edmonton as a copywriter, where I kind of started to learn the whole digital side of it without having to go back to school to learn it. And then, there was an opening here in 2018, and I couldn't say no. We were supposed to host the Memorial Cup, so.
No, that's great. And Paige, I saw an interview or listened to an interview that you did a while back on radio, and I saw the fans commenting on the post saying how far the Rockets social media platforms and digital platforms have come. So congratulations for you growing into the property it is today.
Thanks.
All right, Lisa, it seems like the bulk of your sporting career has really focused on the hockey operations side. I know at the West scheduling meetings, you are the only female in the room. Talk to us about your career path and why or how you knew so early on that you really wanted to be on the hockey side of things, when predominantly when we see women in sports, we tend to see them more on the business side of the operations.
Yeah, I, younger as well as Paige, tried playing hockey. I was okay. It was not going to be a career, but I knew I really, really liked it. I liked sports. So going into college, I knew I wanted to be a sports management major. And so that allotted me the opportunity to try a bunch of different sports in a lot of different internships. I was very fortunate to try baseball, college athletics, but I kept coming back to hockey. So I knew I liked the logistics side, not a salesperson. So I kept just getting dragged back, basically. And then when I graduated college, I was able to get a position with the ECHL and the hockey operations department. Between officiating, player transactions, kind of got a feel for everything. And that's when I kind of knew somewhere in hockey operations was where kind of the fun was for me, in terms of every day was different. I liked the logistical challenges of it. And so I just kind of landed there just by nature of loving hockey and liking what was behind the scenes.
That's great. We're starting very, very slowly to see a few more women coming up on the hockey operations side in the league. Lisa, what is it like to be the only female, around the table when you're at scheduling meetings?
Unfortunately, it's not the first time, so I don't even think I notice it at this point in my career. There's sometimes I am aware of it. It's probably very different for myself than it was 10 years ago. When I was younger, I was definitely hyper aware of it. I was not as confident as I am today. I think I've kind of grown into that. So it is a little different than it probably was when I was younger. And I am aware of that probably for other women. I hope that I see other women in that room very soon. That would make me very, very happy. But right now, I don't even think I realize it anymore. I think I've just become comfortable within myself and made myself comfortable in the room, no matter the situation.
No, for sure. I remember being, I actually think it was a year that Portland was in the championship series, and being on the charter with Edmonton and Portland, and the flight attendant came on, and I was the only female on the plane, and he said, "Lady and gentlemen, welcome to wherever we were for landing for the Memorial Cup." So I totally understand. You just hit a point in your career that you don't even notice. Like you just don't. It's just a thing. But also, like you, hopeful to see a few more women around the table very soon. Okay, ladies, next question. So I was fortunate to work the majority of my career at the Western Hockey League under the mentorship of Yvonne Bergman, who really molded me into the executive I am today. But I also remember my first few months on the job kind of struggling to find my identity within the organization. And I specifically remember the feedback I received from teams and from our office staff for the first event I did. It was a WHL Awards. And I remember being like, okay, I am in the right place. I'm where I'm supposed to be. A kind of that like I made it moment. Did you guys have a particular person that inspired you or really played a large part in the trajectory of your career? And if it wasn't necessarily an individual, do you remember having a certain event or experience that you felt really propelled you? So Lisa, we'll start with you. I know I've heard you speak on other occasions, about Mike Johnson and, your run-ins with him and kind of how that kind of helped propel your career. But talk to me about the people that inspired you, or a particular event that which may have been that networking event that helped propel you.
When I was in high school and in college, I had an internship that I kept going back to. My boss, Chris, she was amazing. And so I kept coming back there because she really allowed me to try a bunch of different things. She allowed me to work in different departments that were not under my internship. I think she was really great in terms of understanding that I needed a lot of different experience to make it far in this industry. And you don't really get that with a lot of internships. I definitely know today it's an issue in terms of the experience that everyone's getting in internships. And I think that she was pivotal in allowing me to grow, being a positive influence, and allowing me to get different experiences in every department. I was helping with accounting, helping the coach write contracts in the summer, going to marketing events, player appearances. She really let me try everything. And I think that was a huge pivotal point in my growth and knowing that that's where I belonged.
Yeah, no, so important. And I do want to talk about internships a little bit later here as well. I think they're critical. And I think, as you mentioned, they're kind of really specific to certain areas now. So it's so great that you were able to get that broader experience. Paige, talk talking about great people and people potentially in your corner or people that have helped out, obviously the Hamiltons, I'm sure played a huge part. I mean, you reached out on your own, but, stayed connected with them. I assume, they played a significant role and you are inspired by them, but, talk to me about your relationship with them or anyone else who has kind of helped you along the way, or again, maybe an event that propelled you in your career.
Yeah, so when I was hired by SOS Media Corp in Edmonton, the agency that I worked for, I had literally just had this little internship with the Rockets, and I had 3.5 years experience at Starbucks. And the only reason that I got an interview with them was because my cover letter made them laugh. So I'm sitting in this interview and one of the owners says, we didn't bring you in for this interview because of your Starbucks experience. And, I kind of laughed and said, well, I didn't think you were looking for a barista. And so it was kind of an interesting experience because they literally hired me off the street with I didn't know what a KPI was. I didn't know what a call to action was. They literally trained me from the ground up. And I remember in one of my last performance reviews, before I left SOS to come back to the Rockets, one of my managers, Amanda Steinke, we're really good friends. We're best friends now. She sat me down and she said, Paige, you need a little bit more confidence. You know what you're doing. You're really, really good at what you do, but you need some more confidence. And that's really stuck with me since that day. So I think that she's a pivotal person and those connections that you make, not just in the sports industry, but outside of it are incredibly important for you.
Yeah, and I think you speak of confidence, and especially I think, that's something that sometimes we as women maybe lack when, a man thinking about, applying for a position. If we don't have all of the things that meet that criteria, we question whether we should be doing it. And a man's like, I have one thing, and I'm not knocking any of the men watching, but, sometimes I think confidence is a thing that we need to work on. And I think sometimes in some of these roles, I know, Lisa, when I was, on that plane and the only female, I did have confidence. I'm like, look at me, I am the only female here and I am here for a reason. So sometimes it is having to make your own confidence or, believing in yourself when it comes to some of those pieces. Olivia, when you started in your coaching role, Tim Hunter was still with the club. Talk to me a little bit about his leadership and who inspired you along the way.
Yeah, for sure. Around town, it was really no secret that Tim kind of people were scared of him, and he had this reputation for being the mean coach, right? So coming in, I was invited in by Alan Miller at the time was our GM, and he had invited me in to do a development camp that year in 2019. And so I went in pretty nervous. Again, as many have touched on already, it's the confidence thing, right? We're thrown into these new situations just surrounded by men, and we don't necessarily start with a full level of confidence, maybe as we should, right? So I go in there, I'm admittedly nervous, looking around, and obviously, again, theme here, the only female in the room. And Tim was great with me right from the beginning. He kind of said, this is yours to run with. We'll give you the opportunity to run drills. You can jump on the bench, you can do this, and the boys will listen. We'll make sure of that. And so once I knew I had his support, obviously I had Alan's for asking me in the first place. And that then came fairly easy. There's still jitters and you're getting out there, and it's the first time some of those boys are around females at that age, right? They're not used to having women coaches out there. And so it was definitely a little bit of a learning curve, but just to know that I had his support, Alan's support, and the team, the organization for bringing me in, it was great. And it gave me that little boost of confidence, definitely on my way. Growing up and playing in Notre Dame, I did have some coaches that inspired me along the way now, a long list of them. So, and my university coaches, and I can talk about individuals all day. But I do want to give a shout out to the ladies in the PWHPA and everything they're fighting for. They inspire not only myself, but a whole new generation coming up playing hockey, the young female players and the young male players as well. They kind of prove that hopefully there will be something that females can continue to play, a league that they'll be continued to play in, maybe in a couple years down in the future. And they won't have to necessarily, work a part-time job on the side or a full-time job on the side while practicing deep into the hours of a weekday and flying out on weekends and back on Sunday nights before they have to go to work in the morning on Monday.
For sure. I know we talk about, about equality and, people in the business world and women making a name for themselves on, the corporate or organizational side of things, but there's a whole other piece to that, the women that are still playing or the people who want to, prolong their playing career. It's so important. And I echo your point that I'm hopeful soon that, they won't be in the same position they are now and a lot more resources start to come their way. Kathy, I know you are super dedicated to your community, the community of Lethbridge, and have a strong sense of community pride. Was that instilled in your parents, or who instilled that in you, and who do you look up to?
My parents definitely led the way in that realm for sure. They were always willing to lend a hand to a friend or a neighbor, always thinking of things that they can help with. So that's certainly where it all started. And then just going through grade school, honestly, just seeing how much you can accomplish when you do help each other really made, it's just all that feel good feelings that you get that I really enjoyed. So I really took that and have certainly realized, especially this last couple of years, how important community is to me and being able to help Lethbridge grow. We're a small, big city.
No, for sure. All right. Okay, ladies, we'll go to our last question here. So what advice would you give to young female professionals looking to enter the sports industry, or a female looking to make a career change into a male prevalent industry? Paige, we'll start with you. Again, I think internships, in my opinion, are key. I know numerous of you have touched on this. Talk to me about how you really felt that your internship really propelled you, or the importance of internships, and what other advice do you have to share with young women?
Yeah, I think the important part of the internship that I had with the Rockets was that I was able to make the connections with the team in the Hamiltons and get my foot in the door here. And it was a really good eye-opener and a taste of the industry to see what it's like, because, coming in as a super fan, it's a little bit of it is an eye-opener to see how it works on the backside, right? So I think that's the importance of internships for sure. I think to, always keep connecting with people in the industry and keep growing is also really important, that those chances will come if you keep doing that.
That's great. Thank you. Lisa, I know you would echo the experience on internships, but talk to us a little bit about networking. I mean, obviously, I think internships offer two sides. They offer the experience, but they offer that networking opportunity as well, which I know can be key. So talk to us a little bit about that and what advice you would have to offer.
So I guess the thing with networking with me, that's how I met Mike, right? I went to a networking event at the draft, met him. Year and a half later, they just happened to be looking for somebody that had administrative background in hockey operations. So from that standpoint, I think that networking is key. And it might not come right away. I think it's one of those things where you got to stick with it and keep those connections going. They may not have a job today, but maybe tomorrow they may have something, or they may know someone, or they, may lead you in a path you didn't realize you wanted to go in, and it may end up being where you're, the happiest. I think continuing that type of connection with people, whether it's in internships or just in your, daily life, professional life, personal life, I think is really key for growing as a person and professionally.
Thank you. Kathy, what about you? What advice would you have offered your younger self, or what advice would you offer the next generation?
I definitely agree with everything that Paige and Lisa has said. Internships are huge. Volunteering with any industry or any position, any companies that you're interested in, just gets you so much experience that you're not necessarily going to learn in the classroom. When I started working with Hurricanes, I was completing my degrees at the same time, and I often found myself wanting to be at the rink so much more than I did at school. I felt like the experience I was getting, the roles and the positions that I was being put in were just so much more, did so much more for my development than anything that I could have learned reading from a textbook. Everything that you're taught in a classroom is just that most perfect, ideal situation, and probably 9 times out of 10 in the real world that doesn't exist. You have to adapt constantly. So my advice would definitely be look for those internships, the volunteer positions, do a job shadow if it's something that you're even remotely the tiniest interested in, and always ask questions. I think at some point we were taught that like you shouldn't ask a silly question, but you learn so much more when you do ask. If you're sitting there and you're only half understanding something, it takes you that much more work before you can fully do your job right. So I've always been a big believer in asking questions and asking for help when you need it.
Oh, that's great. And, we've talked about confidence a little, but I mean, look at, Paige and Kathy, you guys took it upon yourself, reached out to organizations when there wasn't a role, created a role for yourselves, and then look where you guys are now. So yeah, I couldn't agree more when it comes to volunteering. I used to run the internship program in our office, and I often got asked when somebody didn't get hired, why didn't I get hired? And I often said, well, I understand you have to work to pay for school, to get yourself through school. I certainly understand that, but you can volunteer. I said, I need you to show me the passion that you want to be in this industry, because if somebody else has done the same as you, but they show that, they were a general manager for their high school football team, or they volunteered and shadowed on a game night, I think that holds a lot of weight with an employer.
Definitely. And there's just so much more just like the intangible things that you pick up along the way that you don't even think of. It helps you so much in your career and in your personal life.
For sure. Olivia, last but not least here, your story really shows us that you don't have to make a clear-cut decision on what side of the organization you want to be on. Sometimes it's based on opportunity, or whatever the case, that really helps mold our trajectory. I know we are hopeful to see more women coming up again on the hockey and coaching side of things. What advice would you offer to those women?
Yeah, as everyone has touched on before, internships, getting your name out there. What I did a lot growing up through high school and even through university for summer jobs was being an assistant at hockey camps, going to small towns and helping out whoever was leading the camp. I was always throwing my name out there, and being able to work with younger kids who were growing up, kids that were nearing my age even, and just getting that experience, because we had coaches being pulled in from all over the country, all over the United States, up here into Canada for these summer camps. And you learn so much, and you're just a sponge, right? And taking everything in and making sure that you take that information, you run with it in your own career, and you're able to pass it on to others. So I think that was huge for me. And I think now we're seeing a lot more women in important roles. We don't have to dig as deep to find them, right? So I think visibility is a huge thing. And if we can continue to be seen, that's great. And you're seeing it in the NHL with, names like Haley Wickenheiser and Cami Granato, and they're getting these opportunities. And as long as the young kids see that, the visibility is awesome, then they have a vision, they can work towards that, and they can take the correct steps to get there. I think it was the Winnipeg Jets were putting on kind of a hockey management or business operations side of things. They were doing kind of an internship, and you apply to that, and they kind of let you come in for a day or two and shadow people in their office. And I thought that was a great idea, and just things like that, I think, keep the ball rolling for women in business.
Oh, for sure. Thanks so much. Okay, Paige, anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I think just to reiterate what Lisa said earlier, so the intern right before me was hired to take over this role. And I remember getting the phone call telling me that he was going to, be the guy that I was going to mentor under. And I was like, dang it, I wish I would have been the intern before, it would have worked out, and I was kind of kicking myself there for a little bit. And it's just, sticking with it, that, maybe it wasn't the right time, and I went off to that agency and got the experience that I needed to come back and make this role even better than what it was.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people think, like I would often say, all of our jobs are posted on our website, email me, I'll keep your resume on file. And I think sometimes people look at that as like a comment for you to just like leave them alone kind of thing. And I really do go back and look at it. Like I can say the last, lady that worked as the marketing coordinator, started as marketing coordinator and went on to the marketing manager for the Western Hockey League. She did some volunteer stuff with us, and she didn't get the position she originally hired for. And, we had an opening, and I emailed her and said, I think this would be a good fit. So yeah, I think your perseverance and, really staying with it and, I think, Lisa, I've heard you say before, kind of never burn a bridge because you don't know when you're gonna need to go back over it. I think that resonates so true.
Yeah, I think getting experience outside of the industry, it's like not just in sports, is important too.
I agree. Lisa, anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, I think just adding to kind of the whole discussion on confidence and potentially being the only woman in the room, I think there's something to be said about believing in yourself and knowing that you belong in the room. There's been several times where that has been the case and it hasn't necessarily been a positive experience, but I took something from each one of those experiences, whether it was, learning something about myself, about that situation, how to handle that differently. I turned it into a positive. So next time I had a little more confidence in believing in myself of being in that room. And I think that's really the thing that I would, probably tell my younger self, that it does get better, and to always learn something from every situation, even if it is a negative situation, make it a positive.
No, that's so true. And I think, it would be nice if we could have more of these type of platforms and different things for women to be able to lift one another up. It's nice to hear it from our men counterparts or our governors or our general managers, certainly, but it's nice to hear it from some other women because, how often do they have the same situation as you? And, just to know that's how you did it, or I wasn't feeling confident either, but like now I do, that's so important to have that support, but so important to learn from each situation as well. Kathy, how about yourself? Anything you'd like to add?
Everything that you guys just mentioned is exactly it. And I would love to see just more women supporting each other, especially in terms of sharing their experiences, sharing how they got to where they are. I remember when I first started, Esther Mads, I don't know, Alyson, if you worked with her then. Yeah, she was a big, she helped me a lot when I first started. I started when I was 18 years old, and I knew nothing. I was working just kind of serving jobs prior to that. So I knew customer service, but everything else I really had to learn on the spot from her. And just seeing everything behind the scenes, being able to share that experience with someone else that can understand what you're going through, or some of the feelings and the emotions that you have, especially when you are kind of down, you're thinking you don't belong there, like the whole imposter syndrome, right? Just like, oh, what am I doing here? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Do I actually know what I'm doing? It was nice to have her to lean on, and then to see how she's taken that and grown. Because I remember when I talked to her and she had applied for the job with the Hurricanes, she had said she was actually overqualified. And that's what they had told her. And they didn't want to hire her at that time because of that fact. But she wanted that other experience. So she came from media before, from TV specifically, and she wanted that other experience. So what Paige was saying, and I think that helped her out a lot in terms of growth. And then for me, I was able to see just taking on more responsibilities and just other roles and other tasks, or even just learning about it a little bit, how much it can help you develop your career moving down the line. I mean, she was just at the Olympics with the women's hockey team, and just seeing her photos and videos were incredible. And it would be so awesome to be able to have more women experience those things.
No, for sure. I mean, I was so fortunate to have, Yvonne for the majority of my career, and certainly have a great leader again now. But to have that female, it's just different. Like it's just a different connection. They experience the same things that you do. So yeah, I totally understand. I was so fortunate to have Yvonne for 11 of 12 seasons so far of my career with Western Hockey League.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying, yeah.
Kathy, I just have to say, so Esther was here with the women's team in October when they were doing like their little camp here, and she was so nice, sat and talked with me for like 20 minutes about her path. And yeah, she was like so awesome to talk to. Right?
Yeah, we spent many very long hours at the office together. I remember training camp would be wrapping up and we're sitting in our offices at like 11:30 at night, just kind of finishing up her recaps or her photos and just putting everything together. And sometimes it's not, like, it's even just having the company there to kind of talk things through or talk out issues or just things that have been crossing your mind that other people, mostly men, just don't necessarily understand because they wouldn't have experienced it.
Well, ladies, I could talk to you for hours about your accomplishments, listen to your stories, hear your advice for young women wanting a career in sports. Hopefully we'll be able to host another panel again soon. I have been very fortunate over the 12 seasons of my career to work with some amazing women in the league. Again, these 4 women only represent a small sample size of the amazing work being done by women in the Western Hockey League. I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Alexandra Clark, who this season was named the first female official in the Western Hockey League. Alex will be featured in some of our other International Women's Day programs. Be sure to check out our WHL social platforms for lots of International Women's Day content. Ladies, again, thank you so much for your time today, and to all, happy International Women's Day.